Right, this one's going to be, I guess, a bit more serious, in tone. I don't know. Normally these are really jovial and whatever, but this is a big talking point's come up in this one, so I guess I'm going to have to address it. So yeah, so the title of today's show is Accused NXT Star Returns, and I will be addressing that first. If you don't want to listen to that, then you can, I guess, tune back in about 15 minutes, then I'll be doing a proper review of the show. But first I'm going to be talking about, I guess, Velveteen Dream, and just how bloody complicated this is. And I know there'll be a varying just degree of emotions towards all this, and I understand that not everybody... Well, not everybody's going to be comfortable enough to just talk about it, hence to skip forward, and B, some people just don't want to hear about it anymore, in terms of like what I was just talking about, like just the anxiety to talk about such a thing, or even just having no emotion towards it and not thinking it's an issue. So you can skip forward 15 minutes if that is the case for you. Yeah. Also, but now to do just a bit of a proper intro before I get into that bit. Hello and welcome to the LOP Radio NXT review. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and we are live here on YouTube and also available in podcast form. No, the audio did not glitch out. My throat did. That's a great start to the show. Links in the description, or head over to WrestlingHeadlines.net for your latest wrestling news. Also, as a heed of warning, I did everything for my laptop before I go live, as I said before, in terms of lockdown situation and everything. Country's opening up a lot more currently, so maybe it might fix itself relatively soon, but I'm not in the best circumstance, and I'm doing this live off of my laptop, and I bloody restarted it hours ago, and now it's telling me it's got another update to restart it. So fingers crossed nothing happens. So let's see how this goes. But hopefully I'll get through the first bit first, and but like by the 15-minute mark, and then can go through the show in order. And if it bloody restarts itself, at least do it after the 15-minute mark. So yeah. So anyway, so before we like when I went to bed last night, because I'm English, so I didn't know who the mystery opponent was when I woke up this morning. I've seen all the hype and everything and the promotion. I was like, who's it going to be? For some reason, I wasn't expecting the match to main event. I think the past couple of weeks, the NXT qualifier has not main evented the show. And I think my assumption was it would be the same. Like, it wouldn't main event the show, but it would be featured kind of there. I was completely wrong, main evented the show. But the mystery opponent was what everybody was talking about when I woke up. And normally a sign would be the amount of DMs I see on my phone, and there's quite a few things to work through, and I just assumed they were not related to NXT because they not normally are. Like, there's like one or two people that talk to me about NXT, so like when I get a load, I'm just not expecting them to be on that topic. But no, like my feed as well was, as in not my personal feed, as in my actual feed I view of all the people I follow. Timeline, that's the word. It doesn't matter. When I saw that, all anybody was talking about was Velveteen Dream, who had returned as the mystery opponent, and I did not see one positive tweet about it. And I kind of purposely got like a wide array of opinions that because I'm kind of, I don't know if it is because I'm kind of disconnected, where WWE are not my number one, they're not in my country, so I get a nice variety of opinions as well. People all over the world. To be fair, that's what Laws of Pain is as well. If you look at where the writers that you see for the columnists, where you look at where each individual one is from, like we scatter all over the place. Like you got British people like me over here in Europe, you've got Australians, South Africans, Americans, Canadians. It's quite an array of people. I'm going off topic. My point being, I saw a wide array of opinions from a wide array of people, and not one of them positive, which is not a great sign, especially as they double tape this week and next week, meaning that Velveteen Dream will be on next week's show and there's no real time to course correct. And like a lot of the kind of big issue with it, especially if you somehow missed what the issue is, I guess it's just a quick recap. Velveteen Dream was one of the names that was in the muddle during the speaking out movement. He was accused of naughty, I guess. that kind of makes it sound a bit jovial, but it's not really. Sending pictures and images of himself that he should not to girls underage, which massive no-no. If true, obviously. And all we can say is we saw the pictures uploaded onto the internet. Or we can just, we assume there's been a investigation like properly looked into, but we don't know that. We just assume that's true. And being how bloody seriously WWE sponsors, for example, would take this sort of thing, you could assume that this is one of the few things where WWE would have properly looked into it. Of course, they've got a history of not doing that with other things. But for some reason, to me, this feels like the level of thing where I'm like, surely they looked into it. Because if it comes out that it is true and they didn't investigate or they let him back in anyway, that is so bad. It is absolutely insane. As in, just to think of the consequences of that. I think there'll be a few that could cause a few things that could cause a massive ripple for a company like WWE. For me, that is one of them. In this day and age, after all of the movements, after the massive cultural and societal shift, to then keep somebody who was a paedophile, there goes the monetization, but kind of who cares, to keep them on the paycheck or to not investigate such a serious claim, one of the two. For me, like, the consequences of that should be astronomical. The amount of sponsors that would leave, the amount of money you would lose as a company would be incredible. I'm not talking about the fans, like one-on-one kind of things, because WWE makes so much money. I don't know but the bad will towards the fans would be the initial kind of charge, and maybe that would help push the sponsors away. But like, the damage would be astronomical. No matter how it happens, the damage would be astronomical. So I'm watching this with a massive assumption that he was cleared. However, it's been radio silence. There's been absolutely nothing. He was accused around the time he had his match with Adam Cole. That match happened, disappeared for 2 months as the kind of speaking out movement kicked up, and then we didn't see him for 2 months. And then he returns after radio silence, after no statements, after nothing. WWE have fired other wrestlers. We've seen, like with Matt Riddle, more public kind of lawyer-fueled retorts, but fueled's not the right word, aided retorts, I guess, to kind of get his name. I can't think of the bloody word. To get his name dispelled of the rumours, and we've not seen anything from Velveteen Dream, just pure radio silence, and then suddenly he's back, but he's not hyped back, which is another part of it. Like, in terms of, I guess, consumer trust in a way. It's a guy who disappeared in the middle of a massive speaking out movement as the industry was kind of cleansing itself, and his accusation was particularly bad. I've not heard anything since his accusations. He's gone. It's been radio silence, and then you bring him back via a mystery opponent angle. And I can see why some people would be angered by that, because there might be viewers who wouldn't have watched his segment if they would have known he's in it, given the level of accusations against him, and there's been nothing since. And I can understand why people would feel uncomfortable. For me, I was able to enjoy the match, but that presence was there. It was like somebody watching over me as I was watching it, kind of feeling. It's just like, I'm able to enjoy it, but I wouldn't say I'm watching it feeling totally comfortable, if that makes sense. And it's, I guess, for the I guess those people who weren't comfortable watching it, the worst part of it is it might feel like you were tricked into doing so. As in, it was a mystery opponent, you get brought in with the hype of that, and then, oh, it's him. And you kind of feel tricked by the company for that. As in, is there a reason they didn't hype him ahead of time? Were they fully aware people might not tune in if they hype him ahead of time? That's why they did this. They've turned him heel, which also feels conscious. As in, after the match, he just went full on at KUSHIDA after not winning. They didn't give him the win. They turned him heel. It's just like little inklings, like they know something, that he can't be face anymore. People are not going to cheer him. And it's just little self-aware things that just kind of irk you a bit. It's like, And the main thing is, it feels too soon. Especially as it's been radio silence. As the level of, shift this is for the wrestling industry, to just bring him back and do it in a mystery opponent angle, not hyped, and he show kind of self-aware things like you're turning him heel because he's not going to get cheered by crowds anymore. You're not having him win, so it doesn't look like you're pushing him too hard. You don't announce him ahead of time. It's a mystery opponent. It's a lot of little things that are a bit concerning. In the way that they did it, it makes me feel like they are fully aware of what the reception might not be totally clean. But the reasoning is, like, when I'm watching it, it feels too soon. It doesn't feel like it's been that long of a gap between these massive accusations, then he disappears, and now he's just back with nothing. Like, that doesn't feel great. I mean, it does not feel great. And it's a shame because the match was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Like, I'll get into, like, once I get to that marker I was talking about, I'll go through them. Oh, actually, no. Should I go through the match beforehand so people who have skipped to the 15-minute mark don't have to hear the match? Maybe that's better, so I get through it. So I will go through the match now then. Change my mind. I was going to leave it till later. Then I just thought, well, I've said I'll be talking about the serious thing, but does this count as a serious thing? I'm not entirely sure. My point being, just kind of whip it back a bit. I fully understand people who are totally uncomfortable with this. And what I would just ask is for nobody to go off at those people, especially with the thing. The line I'm seeing a lot is the innocent till proven guilty. And for me, you can bring up that line, but that doesn't change the fact that it still feels too soon to bring him back in the manner they did, with the little self-conscious little tropes that were thrown in there. Like, it didn't feel comfortable to watch, even though it was a great match. There was still that shadow over this. That shadow overshadowing. That's awful writing. But it was overshadowing the entire thing. And then I go online. There was so much craziness that happened in this episode of NXT, but nobody was talking about it. All that was being talked about was Velveteen Dream, and that says a lot. That says quite a bit that how much he overshadowed the rest of the show, because the rest of the show was great. As the day went on, you see the odd other tweets trickle in, because it was that kind of counter to the one thing being talked about is, well, there were some great things on it. But still, it's a shame that it overshadowed the show. And it wasn't really needed, especially in this era where NXT feels like it's doing things to maybe try and boost their USA rating. Whether AEW influenced or not, again, I'm somebody who would love there to be competition, because then as a consumer I win. So I don't understand the negative reasons. I mean, it's just from WWE, it's PR speak. Like, for me, they are in competition because it's the wrestling viewership split, so they want as big as they can get. But you've seen the odd things happening. And hello in the chat. I see the odd thing happening. And it's that kind of to boost the ratings, maybe. And Velveteen Dream returning is the latest thing. And it's a shame, really. Like, a massive shame that it's the latest thing. It overshadowed the rest of the show. It was all people were talking about when it went online. And that lasted most of the morning, if not till the American morning had finished, which would have been about 5 p.m. for me. So, like, most of my day. I've seen very similar tweets just pop up over the course of time, and it kind of sucks that happened. But again, the main important thing really is this felt way too soon, even though it also felt like they were conscious of what they were doing, so they weren't overbooking him, they weren't over pushing him, they were kind of presenting him as returning, but they were also self-aware that the audience weren't going to take to him. Like, they in some way knew. Or the likelihood is when he returned they would have to do this anyway, but I feel like now it feels too soon, like, to do it right now. And you saw the reception, it was not received well. And I wouldn't be surprised if after this next week, because they filmed both this week's NXT and next week's NXT, like, in this block. So Velveteen Dream against Finn Balor next week has been recorded, but it's not. So they can't change it. But it's not certain what will happen after TakeOver 30. How heavily featured will Velveteen Dream be, given the reception here, the overwhelmingly negative reception to bringing him back at this point. And it's in the way they did it, where it was a mystery opponent, did not hype him ahead of time, so people who would have felt uncomfortable watching him weren't able to avoid it until he was out there. I mean, you hear his music playing, so you could turn it off then. But if you invested in the show, invested in the North American Championship qualifiers, then he's a mystery opponent and get hyped up, and then he walks out. I can understand it. Anyway, I've hit the 15-minute mark, so I'm going to have to cut this off. As I said, 15 minutes on it. I feel like I've got my points across, and I could go on for ages. I have got a show to get through, which is mostly the reason for it. As I said, to the people who have maybe returned after I said at the start, you can jump to the 15-minute mark if you don't want to have to, again, listen to the difficult... It's a difficult topic to get through with the speaking out stuff. But anyway, I'm going to go through the match now, and then I'll go through the card in order. So starting with the main event, which was the North American Championship qualifier, Kushida, Cameron Grimes and Velveteen Dream. Kushida put on the performance of a lifetime in this. He was amazing. Cameron Grimes is getting more and more featured. When I say I'm becoming a fan of him in NXT, what I mean is I've more and more kind of gotten into the Cameron Grimes character. Like, Cameron Grimes! It's one of the few accents British people can do. One of the few American accents British people can do is like the over-the-top prison warden. It's just essentially like the southern boy. There's very few we can do, but cartoon southern man, we can do that one. But when I say I've been getting into him, I was a fan of his before WWE, so I know I've watched him in matches I've really enjoyed. Had an amazing match against the now Joaquin Wilde in TNA. Like that was or was it Impact? It was in that bridge where they were having so many name changes. I can't remember what the company was called when they had their amazing matches in the X Division. But yeah, those are great. His matches in PWG are great. He has so many on the indie scene. He got signed to WWE for a reason. But finally seeing that in NXT, like I was a bit scared he might be a bit dulled down to these are kind of your sets and your moves and things, but he's really winning me over as of late with his kind of more featured push. And yeah, I'm starting to get into him. He's not a main event guy, but I'm buying him more and more, and him getting the win here. Like, personally, after Kushida put on that performance, like, you're behind Kushida. They've done your job. They've got you behind Kushida. Again, another self-aware thing in a way. Velveteen Dream never even tried to be the babyface. He was kind of the biggest name that was there, and then you had your clear face and clear heel. It was like, yes, a massive character in Velveteen Dream, then Kushida and Grimes, clear face and heel. And Kushida did an amazing job, because I really did want him to win. Like, I did not go into the show knowing who won. All I knew is it wasn't Velveteen Dream. I didn't know if it was Kushida or Cameron Grimes. And watching the thing, I was like, Kushida's got a fire lit under him. Surely it's him. But no, a massive swerve of Cameron Grimes picking up the win in the end, in heelish fashion of picking up the scraps as well. Or I say picking up the scraps is a great kind of Velveteen Dream and Kushida wrestling each other. He jumps in with a double stomp, and that's how he gets the win. Which I thought, again, just great, just opportunistic as well. He's not just picking up scraps, he creates his own opportunities, which it makes the heel look smart. It's not just cowardly heel, which you see way too often on the main roster. For me, it's just like repeated traits to get a bit annoyed with on the main roster. Like every character, there's so many characters that kind of exhibit the same traits, and that kind of irritates me a bit compared to an NXT where they feel like genuine characters who they get fleshed out over time and figured out. And I feel like Cameron Grimes' character has been started to be really figured out during these last few weeks, and it's been great to see. But the match itself, it was fast paced with all three men able to go quick as hell. Another great example of utilising all three men at once to really make the match feel chaotic. I praised it last week. I complained about it the week before. It's great. That's how my triple threats are. As long as you are constantly using the fact that it is a triple threat and it feels chaotic and you're using all three men in some capacity, I'm going to enjoy it. If you have two men in the ring, one on the outside, and you keep going until the one on the outside is ready to swap, and then you do, I'm not going to enjoy that triple threat. You're going to have to really do something to get me into that kind of formula. I'm really not a fan of that formula. But with all three at once, and using that dynamic, that this match did that really well. Like a awesome spot with Dream struggling to get in the ring. Kushida bounced off him. I think he hamstringed. He handspringed off him, which meant that he kicked him in the head and off the apron he went. Then he springboarded off that into Grimes, then dove through the ropes into a devastating looking spinning DDT, spiking Velveteen Dream on the outside. Like again, Kushida had a fire lit under him. Turns out it's because he's not winning. So it's bloody getting over here. Velveteen Dream was the largest man there, but the biggest WWE name. But it was almost like KUSHIDA was the most dangerous competitor who was running the show, especially up to the break. And after the break, the match was so damn incredibly quick. Somehow incredibly fast increasingly fast as the match went on, like Dream countering KUSHIDA and hitting a Dream Valley driver, but he can't even cover him before Grimes is there to try and steal the pin, who doesn't even get one count before Dream's dragged him to the outside. With those two then eating a corner top dive from the former IWGP Junior Champion soon after. And my mouth was not prepared to say initials then. Going from the former. Oh, I don't like it. I said it again. From the former. Don't like it. Anyway, the end came with KUSHIDA locking the hoverboard lock on both men. At first, a top rope scissors flipping Grimes into a hold, which I've seen so many times, still awesome. Then Dream flying in with the elbow, also got caught. And quick and awesome transition from Dream hoisting the Japanese man up onto his shoulders. Grimes is there with the double stomp. Steals the win and slides away like Cameron Grimes, and off he goes. It's for me. I think even though I was cheering for KUSHIDA, they did an amazing job of making me want KUSHIDA to win. Even though they did that, Cameron Grimes winning, as soon as it happened, I was like, this fits what I was praising the ladder match for being in the first place. Because I was praising the ladder match for featuring guys who haven't had that big breaking moment really amongst the wrestling fan base, and this is their kind of moment. This ladder match feels like it's going to make so many names, kind of like the original did to the the bigger, wider WWE audience. KUSHIDA has the massive difference of being one of those massive New Japan names they brought in, having been the ace of the junior division. He wasn't a small name leaving New Japan. He was a massive deal leaving New Japan. He got his final match against Hiroshi Tanahashi. That was his final match. That's the one he wanted, just to kind of prove a point. If you don't know, Hiroshi Tanahashi was essentially the John Cena, just to kind of make a quick comparison so I can quickly move on and not go into too much context. And he got his final match to be that level of opponent, which tells you how highly valued and rated he was. And for him to go here, if he was to qualify in the ladder match, he's not had his WWE moment. So that's why I can abort it. But when Cameron Grimes won, it's like, well, he's not had his wrestling fan base moment. And I feel like he, in terms of what the other kind of competitors in the match are like in terms of level of perception, I feel like he fits that match better than KUSHIDA does. Plus, KUSHIDA in a ladder match, that's not why I want to see KUSHIDA in WWE. I can see him in multiple different kind of places, but in a ladder match doesn't really feel like... It's like when they brought back Shinsuke Nakamura, would you put him in the ladder match? In the North American Championship ladder match? No, that's weird, isn't it? After the match, Dream turns heel, attacking KUSHIDA, which I kind of already talked about. Just saying that the crowds aren't going to cheer for him, so they've seemingly semi-self-consciously turned him heel. After posing in the corner, he turns around to be met by Finn Balor, the man who is now his opponent for next week in the second chance qualifier matchup, because there's two... before we get to the actual second chance qualifier, there's two second chance qualifiers that are taking place next week. Johnny Gargano versus Ridge Holland, and Finn Balor versus Velveteen Dream. I literally talked about that. That's the one I forgot. That's what I was just talking about. And they're taking place next week, and one of the big reasons that we know next week's show's recorded is it was put out there that Johnny Gargano suffered a very scary looking spot, apparently landing on his head, and both Triple H and Shawn Michaels running out for real because they were concerned, and they stopped the recording. And Johnny Gargano is fine. Don't know if they will just edit that bit out, or if we will see a certain thing where it's like, oh, that looks bad, and then we just continue with the match. They don't see everybody run out. They do a seamless cut. You don't, again, yeah. I didn't notice it with Kairi Sane, for example, so I trust that WWE are perfectly fine to edit that thing, and I don't need to criticise them that much. So yeah. But that was the main event. Unfortunately, massively overshadowed by an accused NXT star returning after 2 months of radio silence. And returning as a mystery opponent. I've already covered it. I could go on about it more. If anyone wants to talk to me about any of the topics, you can hit me up on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. I try and be in the comment sections as well, be it here on YouTube, be it on the Laws of Pain site as well. Yeah, if you want to go into any of the matches or topics, I'm perfectly happy to go into them if I remember to comment. Anyway, so I'm going to go through the card in order now, but because it is the summer and it is extraordinarily hot for Britain over here. That was me having a drink of water, podcast listeners. For over here in the UK, like 20-degree nights, that's really hot to us. Like 18 or 19. Like for us, that's like, oh, bloody hell, isn't it hot? Yes, Brian, it's so hot. I don't know who these characters are. So I'm in my water because I'm starting to sweat. I am also next to a big bright light, and as I said on the Monday Night Raw review, that's probably the bigger factor, is I'm next to a massive light in the middle of summer. That probably doesn't help. Anyway, let's go through the card. First up was Karrion Kross versus Danny Burch. Really bought the entrance this week. I don't know why. Some weeks I'm not feeling the Karrion Kross entrance. Well, it's a mixture. I'm either not feeling it or I'm really feeling it. I don't think I've ever had that from an entrance before, where I'm either watching it thinking, it's fine, the singing along is a bit weird, or it's like this week where I'm like, oh, this is awesome, this is amazing. I've never had such a variance in the same entrance. Don't ask why. I don't understand why it's a thing, but it just is. Anyway, so he was facing Danny Burch, the man he choked out last week, but you don't choke out Danny Burch without facing some consequences. This match, bold lads doing bold lad wrestling. Burch, I don't know why I said his name so weirdly. Burch calls to have the bell rung as soon as he gets into the ring. An unfortunate turn of phrase given how the match went. Danny going after Kross and maybe surprisingly getting in quite a fair amount of offense. Seemingly constantly bouncing back, which is give a great kind of tweak to Karrion Kross because he's not the Fiend indestructible. We got to see him take offense. We got to see him, wince in pain, stumble back. He just fought through it. It's like he's not invincible. He's just able to fight through pain with an astounding amount of perseverance. And there's something about that which I would like way, way more. Just all the praise in the world for that one. But that kind of constantly bouncing back nature for Danny Burch didn't last forever. One Doomsday Saito pretty much had all that momentum sucked out of him. Burch attempted another swing, but with nothing left in the tank, Kross soon had him locked in a sleeper and choked the Englishman out for the win. Karrion Kross looking dominant, and we got shown he is human, which is quite important, again, for when he faces Keith Lee. So it's not a sudden super dominant guy is then having a normal matchup. You've seen the fact that he can be knocked back, at least. He might not be defeated, but he can be knocked back. He's not invincible. After the match, Keith Lee comes out. This is the interesting bit. So, with a contract in his hand, Lee says that he has promised to Regal that he won't touch Kross until TakeOver. Regal's caveat being that if that will get the match, that's what he's willing to do. Lee's signature is on it already. All that is needed was Kross's ass to sign it, or something like that. He said ass. The two seemingly oblige in the Scarlet Bordeaux and Karrion Kross. You see Kross visibly signing, then Scarlet gives it a kiss, and then stares really weirdly for an awkward amount of time, just at the ring apron, kisses it, then slowly hands it over while just staring. It's like, right, okay. Then we get a unique, low-down, close camera shot as Keith opens the contract to check, and tiny fire out with the audio sample of a massive flame bursting over. This is, magic trick level of fire, but it's like a boom, and they play it off super seriously as well. The medics run out, and there's no commentary as they play this off as super serious. Lee shouting, "Where's Kross, damn it?" whilst holding his face. It's only been a few weeks with the main roster writers, but the bollocks is officially here. The main roster bollocks has come to NXT with the Fireball again. So, in terms of giving a reason for Keith Lee to be really angry, he's not selling it enough. but he's going to go at Karrion Kross. He cannot. He's wanting to charge at him. He just can't physically do it because of the fireball in his face. I guess overselling the size of it again. But yeah, I don't know what that means for the characters though of Karrion Kross or Scarlett Bordeaux. My assumption might be nothing, but was it Karrion Kross? It wasn't just signing. He was putting a contraption in there. So when he opened it, it was a fireball. Or does Scarlett Bordeaux have superpowers? Which we're all at we're at a dangerous turning point now. Well, once it gets established in WWE that a character has superpowers, things often get weird fast. Bray Wyatt as the latest example. Twice, I guess, with first is the cult leader turned to this guy can do any superpower, as I guess as Bray Wyatt. Suddenly and then with the Fiend as well. I guess it's a bit more tied with the Fiend, but still. Well, at that point now, Scarlett Bordeaux, maybe if her kiss was put the fireball in it. I don't know. That's the way I was looking at it. What does this actually mean? Are they actually people with superpowers? Which I'm just like, that's not fair. In a wrestling match. But afterwards, just praising the fact that Karrion Kross isn't invincible. He's just able to fight through pain with an extraordinary amount of temperament. And then they do the fireball thing. And I'm just yeah, I kind of put that as main roster bollocks. I've seen for some people it works, like it completely caught them off guard, and for them that was enough, and it's like a devious thing. But for me, Karrion Kross does not come across as a character that needs that sort of thing. Like, does he necessarily need to do these tricks when we're seeing him just destroy people? I guess unless it's part of the story where it feels like Keith Lee might be one of the guys that he does need tricks for. I don't know. They've put him so well to this point. This feels like a blip to me. Like it's a thing that's happened, it's just not been thought through in terms of how it would work for the characters and the world and everything that's been set up before. It's a cool moment, but does it make sense? Which was the case for WWE last year in 2019 when I stopped watching. They were doing just a lot of things. I was like, I'll wait for you to settle down. But anyway, after the break we got Drake Maverick versus Killian Dane. Kind of, maybe, but not really. Also with Drake Maverick and Killian Dane coming out, that's 3 to 4 competitors from the UK. Last week was NXT Australia, this week NXT UK. I'll be honest, it was hard to get into this after the Fire contract. But immediately cutting to break didn't exactly help either, just investment, because pluck, just gone. Then when we returned, we got like Undisputed Era running in, and we've got Keith Lee stuff as well. The Undisputed Era ran in and quickly ended things, like quickly and chopping both competitors down. It's like, oh, okay, that's that then. Drake Maverick, he dove on Killian Dane at one point. Like, to the outside, if I'm right, off the top turnbuckle. That's the only spot I remember. I couldn't tell you anything else that happened in this match. It was like the least important thing that was happening. Yeah, afterwards, Adam Cole grabs the mic and riffs on Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee. He dares him to show up next week to get in the ring and look him face to face and tell him, so he can tell him he's going to whoop his ass at TakeOver 30, that Pat McAfee is in way over his head. Nice kind of continuation from last week after Adam Cole got his head kicked off by Pat McAfee. It's like, what can you do? It's the celebrity thing where one of the big issues with building a match with a celebrity with the weekly format is that a lot of times you're just not going to be able to have them there to do the thing. So this is decent enough for that. It didn't take up too much time. And of course you get promos and things, so it works out. I'm not one of those people that's thinking negatively. I'm positively, I'm looking forward to this, and it's something different for Adam Cole, and it shows how much trust they have in him to give him and to trust him to have a great match with Pat McAfee on a TakeOver 30 like stage. In terms of main roster for the future as well, just to have this level of trust already. Yeah, it's great. After this, we got a Kushida promo. He says it's time for Kushida to taste gold. Yeah, maybe not Kushida. Next up was Tyler Breeze versus Cruiserweight Champion Santos Escobar. Escobar sends Wild and Phoenix. No, that's not right. It's Wild and Mendoza. The reason I brought that up was that at that point, after he sent them to the back, Maher was saying their names. And I realised I keep calling the former Zima Ion Joaquin Phoenix. And it's in my notes. I've referred to him as like Phoenix and Mendoza. It's like, no, he's not Joaquin Phoenix, the star of Her and Gladiator and many, many other things. Like, no. It's Joaquin Wild. And I'm going to bloody remember it. Because I can't keep mentioning Joaquin Phoenix. I guess, okay, for the algorithm, it's like I type his name in on the tags. Tyler Breeze got his attempts at offense, but Escobar had a lot of control in this match. Talking trash while striking kicks. The model fought back. The champion was just able to ground him again so easily. Then when Tyler was able to hit a proper string, Wilder and Mendoza were immediately out to cause a distraction for their leader to capitalise upon. Personally, it makes the faction again feel like this tight unit, again with devious plans and whatnot. And I wouldn't mind Escobar kind of winning because he's great. As in, just have it. It's something. It's again because I just come back from New Japan. It's quite the New Japan whiplash seems to happen, but it's that idea that the heel can win without the help of the faction. And I understand there's like Bullet Club is an example of that not being the case, but there are again other factions where they don't need the interference to win, and then he starts to value them as a performer. And I feel like Escobar is one of those guys where they could do that, like legitimately. He could win a match because he's fantastic, even though he's got the people at ringside. Like you bring them out when he really needs it, not in a match like this. Like for a match like this, he could have been like essentially belittling Tyler Breeze, just saying like you're so not worth my time. I'm so above you that I'm not even going to have my goons come out. Of course, it led to the brawl afterwards, which is what is more leaning towards. After the match, the one-armed Fandango snaps the head off a mop, which is what badasses do, and attacks the trio, obviously losing out. A one-armed man against three men, but doing decent damage. For when Swerve ran out to even the odds, the babyfaces ended standing tall in the ring. Mauro pointing out that Swerve is the only man to have beaten Escobar at NXT, which is obviously important, setting up their match as we slowly work towards it. Not sure if that's going to be happening at TakeOver 30. Not seen it confirmed. It feels like a match that could happen on NXT itself. Like the card gets the kind of just bloated enough. I say bloated enough. They get their 6 and it gets solid enough that this match just be a little extra that's not really needed. Could record it for the live crowd for NXT the next week, but it's not necessarily needed on the show. VTR number 1 contender Dakota Kai says she got to where she is today all on her own. Typical heel stuff, and no need for friends or partners or insurance policies. At TakeOver next Sunday, she's figured out how to beat Io Shirai, and we'll see how that goes for you. But I feel like Io Shirai's rebuttal was way stronger. Together, these two work, but Dakota Kai's by herself was, it was fine, like nothing awful, but it doesn't convince me you're going to win. It was a decent promo. Like, I learned about your character rather than being convinced you might actually win. If that makes sense. But I feel like the match itself would probably convince me 1 or 2 times at least. They're both fantastic enough to do it. Mia Yim versus Indy Hartwell. Mia Yim somehow getting back from the hospital and for some reason is like desperately needed for this match against the rookie Indy Hartwell. It's like she can be by her husband, like kayfabe wise, she can be by her husband's side. You can put somebody else over against Indy Hartwell. Before the match, Yim's interviewed by Blonde Lady. I'll learn her name eventually, I promise. I'm just bad with names. Says Keith Lee's still in hospital, but she's got to focus on her match, so could you, piss off? What are you doing? Yim, in the match itself, uses her kicks to neutralise the Australian. The weekly impressing Australian. I just want to just keep adding that again this week. Indy Hartwell looked great again. Who herself, she had her own decent counters and reversals, giving her a wee moment on top. It makes me feel like they really, really value Indy Hartwell, and getting her all this experience at this moment is because of how highly they regard her. Potentially. The ending was an awesome roll through from Mia Yim, countering into locking both an arm and a leg, wrenching back the former, and forcing the tap. The Blasian Badass comes off strong in her mood of taking no nonsense. And yeah, moves on to the next thing, I guess. Are we going to get a Scarlett Madomi match? I don't know. Finn Balor VTR, who, with an interesting line of Doesn't matter if you're 18 or 49, everybody wants to see Finn Balor. It's like a line which maybe works if the... it's like the counter to the Demogod stuff. Like a bit more subtle, because of course Jericho's just literally there screaming, "I'm a Demogod." So in terms of subtlety, there's not much, not much... everything's going to be lower than that, essentially. Finn Balor saying that line of, no matter if you're 18 or 49, everybody wants to watch the Prince. Obviously, it's a line that makes sense in the world, even if you just don't look up the data to see if he's making sense. Just don't look up the data, just don't look into it. Just don't look into it. Works in the world. It's fun. Just don't look into it. Just don't look into what he's saying. He also says whoever is left over after tonight will be easy pickings for Finn Balor next week. As we know, that's Velveteen Dream. We'll see how things go after that. Then we got a video of Triple H making the announcement for Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole on ESPN earlier in the week. Given the audience they're going for with this match, for me, that's the perfect way to announce this thing. Like, no complaints, really. It's the audience they're going for with it. Be interested to see if it works. Next up, Damian Priest versus Bronson Reed, which was set up in the parking lot last week. And nobody got attacked or hurt. They just had a bit of a tiff and they're like, "Shall we have a match this week?" Yeah, we'll have a match. And yeah, that really good for you, NXT car park. Good for you, Full Sail. So two big lads doing big lad wrestling, gamesmanship, trying to one up each other. Damian Priest seemingly rotating through the air in like the size of space that he shouldn't be able to. The athleticism, is credible. Like, both guys way more athletic than you'd think a man their size would be able to do. That didn't make that. I changed my sentence halfway through. Didn't make sense. Flying through the air with ease before suplexing their opponent overhead, also showcasing their strength. Reed missed the tsunami splash. Priest tried to capitalise, but he obviously put the big man on his back and quickly flips over on top to secure a sudden pin. The rise of the thick boy continues. I guess we've had Priest kind of showcases before, so and he's not had his massive breakout moment, but he's had like big matches like Finn Balor at Great American Bash, and this is like Bronson Reed kind of getting his climb, which is kind of a useful turn of phrase for the climb we can be doing at the ladders. Anyway, Io Shirai VTR, really enjoyed this. Her promos have been amazing since she's become champion. Really, really rate them. Loved the water one. Loved this one here tonight. She says she's received her message, calls Dakota a manipulator, and shows all the times that she's done it over the past. And says like to her, she remembers her as the girl who was terrified of Shayna Baszler. Next Sunday, she should be terrified of her, and she's pissed her off. Ooh. It was ever since they did that, the underwater kind of recording things, and since then they've done the voiceover for the VTRs. For me, since then it's really worked, and in this one they put in a little bit more of cutting to Io herself saying directly to camera some of the lines. And when she said she's pissed off, she said it in English, because that's another thing I like as well. She's Japanese. That doesn't mean you have to deliver every single line that's on the TV in English. And I feel like switching between Japanese and English really, really works for the Io Shirai character. And her at the end, it kind of was that final nail, as in, like, you've pissed me off so much, I'm going to say it so you 100% understand. Like, you have pissed me off, just directly to camera. I really enjoyed it. Great promo from Io Shirai. Especially fantastic counter to the Dakota Kai promo, and gets you excited for TakeOver. I mean, I'm still feeling like Io's going to win, and that's not really... I mean, it's not that I want her to win. But they're doing a decent job. I'm excited for the match, even if I feel like the winner might be a bit predictable. But predictable isn't always bad, and this might be one of those fantastic examples. Cameron Grimes VTR. Did not say his name, my voice is going. He's such a cartoon stuff boy. It's Cameron Grimes' time. And speaking of time, Kushida, I got no time for you. He said it just like that. To me, that's exactly what he sounded like. For me, he's perfect for the main roster because his character suits crap lines so well. And that was a crap line. It's like, it's Cameron Grimes' time. And speaking of time, Kushida, I got no time for you. Like, that's not a good line. But it works so well in Cameron Grimes' accent and delivery, and just B for his character. Like his character would say crap lines, and it's like he is tailored for the main roster. Does not matter what they throw at him in terms of the dialogue, it will fit his character because he says crap lines and he thinks they're great. Anyway, next up we've got Aaliyah and Mercedes Martinez, joined by Robert Stone, versus Katie Catanzaro and Caden Carter in a tag match. This was a nice little showcase of the chemistry between Aaliyah and Mercedes Martinez, even if that chemistry is the badass and the smaller person next to them going, hey, like the UK and America. Massive insult to my own country, especially one that maybe doesn't make sense currently. It's politically a decade old, but still. Anyway, that gag's not in my notes. It was unnecessary, completely unnecessary. Before the match, Robert Stone offers Casey Catanzaro a place in the Robert Stone brand. Says she's got all the potential. She's just hanging out with the wrong people. You need to lose the loser. Pointing obviously at who's a partner. Caden Carter. God, I'm tired. Carter kicks him in the shin. Good on you. Some decent tag offense from Aaliyah Martinez. The latter obviously built as the toughest competitor in the ring, winning out in the end with the air raid crash and angrily forcing the chirpy in victory Aaliyah off her. And Aaliyah as well, like, she was, the amount of different kind of pins she was trying to, like Mercedes Martinez would hit a big move, or Aaliyah would hit like one final move after Mercedes Martinez has done a big thing, and then Aaliyah would try and score the pin. And she had so many different ways. Like, I don't know if I've seen such a short tag match where, with such a variety of pins, like, Aaliyah just, seemingly it came across as an attempt to try and keep the opponent down as every single time she tried something new. It's like, yeah, that was entertaining. Where Mercedes Martinez would do something and Aaliyah would jump in, like, well, will this one work? It's like that. After the celebration, Rhea Ripley's music hits, a tad of a stare down the ramp, but eventually the RG charges the ring. The numbers game catching up, but Martinez throws Aaliyah off her because Aaliyah was kind of holding Martinez back for a second, and she just charges at Ripley again, which is when Shotzi Blackheart came out to even the odds, and we have our tag match set up, assumably for next week. Can't remember if it got definitely announced, but it feels like a nice little kind of swing. And this match showed off the chemistry between Mercedes Martinez and Aaliyah. Like, this could even be like a takeover. I don't know. Takeover for me is Mercedes Martinez versus Ripley, but if you want to hold it off, it's Takeover 30. You don't hold it off for Takeover 30. I'm convincing myself out of it. Next up was a promo from the Gargano family enjoying their evening at home. I love this. Candice was reading a story to her dog, and then she would just cut to camera and just talk about the pixie being underestimated, and you don't ignore the pixie stuff. And I should have written down what she said. Turns out 1 a.m. Can't remember it. But and then he cuts back and Johnny Gargano's like, What story are you reading to the dog? Oh, just normal story, just normal story to the dog. So yeah, cutting promos at a dog. Yeah, you're gonna get over. Johnny is atop a ladder fixing a light bulb because he's a man in the house. Yeah, you gotta fix the light bulb, Johnny. Good husband. Good husband, Johnny Gargano is. He cuts a promo at the top of the ladder, switching between the lovely suburban household and then the direct-to-camera distorted promos. Of course, the main part being he's on the top of a ladder, and it's a natural in-home reason to be on top of the ladder. I thought that was quite good. But it clearly feels like they're delivering a message as well. Especially as you also know it is like the set home after the NXT Great American Bash, and just keep it there. With Doc Hendricks on the wall and everything. Minor gripe. The ladder, so they did the whole thing with the ladder and then they walk up afterwards. And for the promo, makes all the sense in the world to keep the ladder there, because that's a kind of, you focus on that at the end because you're trying to qualify for the ladder match. It makes sense, it works in that way. But as a going to bed thing, it irritated me. He finished his job, his DIY job, then didn't put away the ladder. As somebody who, as soon as I finished the job, I immediately put away the ladder just in case my clumsy ass trips over it. Or left it at the bottom of the stairs. The madman left his ladder wide open in the A at the bottom of the stairs. Like what if you get up in the middle of the night for a drink or a wee and And I mean, you're rich, you probably have an upstairs toilet, but still, if you come downstairs for a drink of water and got some food, and you forget the ladder's there because it's 3 a.m. Oh, Johnny, just put the ladder away. You seem to have enough energy. You were chirpy after cutting the promo. Put the ladder away. Minor gripe. Pretty minor gripe, but still. It made me laugh as that was my reaction to the promo afterwards. Put the ladder away, Johnny. He'll trip over it in the morning. Thatch as Thatch can, lesson 2. It was like a massive string of announcements and things. A nice little touch here. He's teaching him the Boston Crab, which he then leant back into with the ankle lock type of thing that he was doing on Finn Balor when he then got caught by Dexter Lumis and choked out. Like, he didn't win with it, but he was explaining the hold in class. And the little touch, because I was assuming this would have been more noticed, but like a little touch in the thing was the student that he was demonstrating the hold on. He was wearing a Finn Balor shirt. So, like, it's a nice little touch as he's teaching the hold on a man who's wearing the shirt. Like, he's causing pain to a person in Finn Balor shirt, like getting his revenge kind of thing, or just kind of recreating the scenario to that exact T. Like, yeah, a nice little detail. I kind of enjoyed, and it's a little that is. I feel like I should point these out with NXT because I'm holding them up to like an additional bar and to kind of point out why little character details like that, which don't get picked up on, don't get pointed out, but if you're paying attention, you'll notice a little character trait there. And it's not the type of thing of, oh, do you remember this years ago and now we're bringing it back because we're trying to make it look like we're doing long form storytelling. Like, no, they're actively doing it week to week with purpose. Yeah, so I like that. And that was the kind of final thing on the show. I've already talked about the main event with the North American Championship and I'll call it controversy, but that kind of doesn't quite... that word doesn't fit for me, really. Like, calling him a controversial star. Like, no, he's an accused paedophile. Controversy, it's a bit... that really... I shouldn't have, like, probably giggled there, but I was trying to sell it. Just that... It's quite a serious accusation, and to go to radio silent to call him controversial. We called John Cena controversial. This isn't really controversial. It's a bit more than that. Anyway, so... we've got announcements for next week, which is probably a half decent way to end the show. Next week we've got 2 second chance qualifying matches, or as I call them, second chance qualifiers, because there's a final, it's 2 semi-final matches and then a final qualifier. Oh, I'm saying that word a lot. So the matches are Johnny Gargano versus Ridge Holland, and Finn Balor versus the mystery man who was Velveteen Dream, and it's all about the guy who did not get pinned or submitted or lost or whatever in their match. And those are the 4 guys. So there we go. One more spot to fill. Who's it going to be? I mean, they can't change the finish. My assumption is they'll have Velveteen Dream win Finn Balor. Win Finn Balor, you know what I'm trying to say. And then you have Gargano versus Dream, but Dream is not going to be the face. Oh, he turned heel, didn't he? Like, everyone, all 4 of these guys are heels. That's actually quite interesting. I mean, Rich Holland's kind of in nothing, he's just Big Lad who did stuff, but it's WWE. Big Lad does the big moves, will often feel like a heel. Just the way that he wrestles. And I swear in NXT UK I've seen the odd clip of him presented and I thought he was a heel. Again, I've no time for NXT UK. I don't mean that in a, I've got no time for you, you suck. No, I mean no time as in literally, I could not fit it in. I was struggling before I kind of got into the current format. But still. Anyway, I can see in the video I'm leaning forward quite a bit, which tells me I'm getting a bit hot and sweaty. So, I'm going to end that there. I've gone close to an hour. The NXT shows rarely get that long, which probably tells you of the stuff to talk about. So it wasn't just like the ending of the match, which got people negatively talking, which I feel like is a serious topic to address. Then the show itself had a lot happen on it. I said, like, the first thing on the show was Keith Lee getting a fireball in the face. Like, yeah, this show had stuff happening. There were things going on. But yeah, enjoyed the show. It's just the final note as you left was Velveteen Dream, which kind of sours and overshadows the rest of it. Again, not a massive fan of the fireball thing. Not a massive... a bit concerned of where that final competitor's going for the ladder match. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be back on Monday, and I'm pretty certain I've booked a guest for next Monday. Again, at 1am. I'm struggling to remember, definitely. But I'll be back at 8 EST on Monday, so 1 hour later than normal. The guest is American, just to make sure we can get stuff. yeah, people have got like obligations such as like jobs and things. So as a UK person, kind of I'm willingly good to go later in the night just so I'm not really irritating like the people's schedules. Anyway, yeah, thank you for listening and watching. Well, follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. Get all your wrestling news from WrestlingHeadlines.com. There's a link to RedCircle, which is where all the podcasts go. We've got podcast exclusive shows like the WWF The Legacy series and the new Maple Leaf History, going over the history of like Canadian wrestling. They're exclusive to the podcast world. We've also got Kingdom of Honor, All Night Wrestling podcast, Quick and Painless, and AEW Dynamite After Dark, all here on the YouTube channel as well. And with that, I bid you adieu. Goodbye. That's it. Maybe. What do you think? I guess in terms of like talk about the Velveteen Dream stuff, talk about the show itself, the Fireball. Do people like the Fireball? Are you excited for Takeover 30? I feel like that's the big thing. After this show, are you still looking forward to the pay-per-view? Did NXT do its job and get you excited for the pay-per-view? If so, let me know. Comments, whatever. Like the podcast people, 5 stars and stuff. I'm signing off now. Goodbye. Adios. I need to say goodnight. All right. Adios. Goodbye.